just like Thanos and the Infinity Snap, this too was an inevitable. Let's get into it. Hey there, everyone. Welcome back to the show. It's Wednesday. Y'all know what that means. We're going to talk about the addiction. And this week has been a little tumultuous, a little spicy, as I like to say. It's been a hot minute since Microsoft, formerly Blizzard, did something petty, mean-spirited, and just plain shitty, so we were overdue. At 3:39 p.m. Pacific on August 29th, Microsoft, formerly Blizzard, reasserted their tarnished reputation once again. Now, this is not an indictment of any legal aspect. Microsoft, formerly known as Blizzard, are fully within their legal rights to go after anyone and everyone they want to. All I'm saying is that there's a consequence to the action. That action being a lawsuit filed in the District Court of California against none other than Turtle Wow. Now, I resist the urge to call Turtle Wow a private server. That's such a limited and hampering term. Turtle Wow is what could have been had Microsoft, formerly known as Blizzard, chosen to stay the course with the initial iteration of the game. An entire world of what might have beens, if you will. It contains expanded professions such as gardening and survival, as well as more lore accurate races like High Elves being part of the Alliance. There are numerous original zones in the game, and from everything I've seen, are extremely faithful to the core vision of WoW Classic, far more so than Microsoft, formerly known as Blizzard, seems capable of putting out. So that's who's being sued. Now, why they're being sued is interesting. Y'all remember Nostalrius, private server that brought faithful classic WoW back and got so big Microsoft, formerly known as Blizzard, felt compelled to shut them down. And now Microsoft Blizzard then launched their own classic WoWs. But it begs the question, had Nostalrius not been as big as it was, would Microsoft Blizzard even have made classic in the first place? One wonders. And there's a theory in this situation that begs a brief examination. Is Microsoft Blizzard going after Turtle WoW because they themselves are intending to put out a Classic Plus experience? Maybe. However, I would point to the absolutely gutted nature of their employee base and ask, you think these 2 or 3 people left after all these mass layoffs can actually pump out Classic Plus, let alone maintain it? I remain skeptical. But getting back on topic, Microsoft Blizzard's complaint alleges copyright infringement of at least a half a dozen types, along with, and I nearly spit my coffee out when I read this, participation in a RICO enterprise. Are you kidding? RICO, the same tactic used against organized crime, mafia type stuff. Microsoft Blizzard are, by implication, trying to make an association between a private server for a video game and things like gangs and mobs. Further, the complaint has indirectly doxed the number of folks that are involved in Turtle WoW, which I thought was kind of a rude, spiteful little cherry on top of this absurdly overblown legal Sunday. Now, I'm not going to read the whole complaint here, but I will put a link to it in the description below, providing I remember, which seems to be at least 50-50 whether I remember or not, but I digress. What I do want to touch on, beyond Microsoft Blizzard's excessively flowery and inaccurate self-congratulatory statements, was one statement where they work extensively to create partnerships with players. You mean, like, sue them when they make a version of the game that grows beyond a certain amount of popularity? I make this point in particular because I've never understood Microsoft's Blizzard's rabid attacks on private servers. For me, I look at a business like a binary equation. Whatever makes the most money is what you do. Attacking a fan project like this not only costs money in terms of legal fees and so on, also, it further generates no revenue in that it's going to drive away far, far more than it's going to foster. The people going off to play Turtle WoW and Nostalrius and so on, this isn't going to sway them back to subscribing. If anything, it'll drive them even further away, and it may even drive away existing customers' subscriptions, as this deplorable tactic of punching down leaves a bad taste in their mouths, as it should, arguably. In Microsoft Blizzard's prayer for relief, I noted a couple lines that made my eyes pop even further. Number 4 asks for all copies of everything to be delivered to Microsoft Blizzard. So, if you were, say, wanting to develop your own Classic Plus, you could theoretically utilize the copies therein to shortcut those efforts, which might be a priority if you were to, say, be down to an absolute skeleton crew and just don't physically have the labor or the staff to do the work. That's just a theory, though. It's probably not right. Further, number 8 asks for the Turtle WoW domain name to be transferred to Microsoft Blizzard, as opposed to just being defunct. So Microsoft Blizzard would then own the name Turtle WoW. Specific and odd that one is, and it's interesting. And of course, they ask for Turtle WoW's financial records to see what Turtle WoW's been making off their version of the game, which might be useful data if you were examining the profitability of your own Classic Plus, especially potential for in-game store items, what you should charge based on what people would pay, etc. Again, just a theory. Anyway, though, that's enough legal nonsense. When I initially heard of the suit over the weekend, naturally, I blew my stack completely and proclaimed my unhappiness about this turn of events with colorful adjectives all over the house. However, I'm glad I waited to post a video on it, and I'll tell you why. I was watching a video yesterday, another YouTuber talking about the suit, the potential shutdown, and so on. And his stance was muted. Muted because he long accepted Turtle WoW would be shut down, just like Nostarius, just like every private server until the end of time. That private servers aren't and never will be permanent. And my mindset just changed. Something clicked in me. The rage fled my thoughts and was replaced with a dull kind of bitter acceptance. He was right. Fans of World of Warcraft will continually come together and make these private servers, these love letters to maybe a state in the game they dearly miss, or to perhaps enact changes they desperately wish Microsoft Blizzard would make, but they've lost all expectation or hope of ever seeing. This is all inevitable. Just as it's further inevitable that Microsoft Blizzard, instead of seeing these passion projects as the glaring suggestions they are, or perhaps an untapped resource you could fold these people into the mix, etc., will continue to not only shut these servers down, but go after those behind them with ever increasingly draconian measures. For Nostarius, they were content with cease and desist. Now, we see the escalation with Turtle WoW, and it's easy betting money the next time a private server gets big enough to be noticed, they'll escalate the legal action even more. With that clarity of understanding, like I said, I found myself absolutely and utterly deflated. I saw both sides of this conflict, this disagreement. I don't even know what the right word is, whatever it is. I saw both sides and went, well, alrighty then. But anywho, that's about all I wanted to cover today. I thank y'all for tuning in for this World of Warcraft Wednesday. I hope I at least entertained you, if nothing else. After this latest round of nastiness, though, I'd love to get back to something positive. So expect something a little bit more upbeat here next. Now, get out there, folks. Play something fun on your own. Do something awesome. Be a force for good out there in the world, and not a force for evil. While you're at it, put in a good movie, watch a cartoon, read a comic, make some memories, and as always, have a good one.